The summer evening smelled of grilled steak, smoky charcoal, and the sweet tang of barbecue sauce. The golden light of the setting sun stretched across the backyard, casting long, warm reflections over the rippling pool water. Laughter wove through the air, mixing with the clink of glasses and the steady hum of conversation. It looked like the perfect summer get-together: drinks, good company, a laid-back atmosphere. But for me, this wasn't just a party. It was the start of something much bigger. Standing near the grill, I held a glass of whiskey in one hand, the amber liquid catching the last rays of daylight. To everyone else, I probably looked relaxed, enjoying the evening like any good host would. But inside, my mind was already a few steps ahead. This night, this moment, was the tipping point. I took a slow sip, letting the smoky burn of bourbon settle on my tongue as I scanned the crowd. There they were, friends, colleagues, gym buddies, neighbors. A mix of familiar faces, all of them oblivious to the fact that tonight would be unforgettable for reasons they couldn't yet imagine. And then, of course, there was her. Lauren. My wife. The life of every party. She stood in the center of it all, laughing, radiant, playing the role she knew best. Perfect hostess. Perfect social butterfly. The perfect woman in everyone's eyes. Her white sundress hugged her frame just right, her golden hair cascading down her back in effortless waves. She had always had a way of drawing attention, of turning heads, of making people feel like she was the sun they should orbit around. And tonight was no different. Except tonight, I wasn't just watching her charm a room. I was watching her flirt, openly, shamelessly, her manicured fingers resting on the muscular arm of a man who wasn't me. Ryan. The personal trainer. The so-called friend. The guy who laughed too loud at her jokes. Who always found a reason to be a little too close. Who forgot to hide the way his eyes lingered on her when he thought no one was looking. But I was looking. I had been for a long time. Hey, Nate. A voice broke through my thoughts. Jason, an old college buddy, lifted his beer in a toast. Man, you really outdid yourself. This place looks amazing. I forced a smile. Glad you think so. Jason followed my gaze, eyes flicking toward Lauren and Ryan. They were standing just a little too close, their laughter carrying just a little too far over the music. His brow furrowed. You good. I turned back to the grill, flipping a perfectly seared steak. Never better. Jason hesitated but didn't press. I knew some of the guests had started picking up on things. The lingering glances. The not-so-innocent touches. The way Lauren gravitated toward Ryan like he was the only one in the room. Some might brush it off as playful. Others might think it was harmless. But I knew better. I had proof. Months of it. The late-night texts. The secret phone calls. The hotel receipts. The shift in the way Lauren looked at me, like I was just another obligation, an inconvenience in her otherwise perfect life. And still, I hadn't said a word. Not yet. Because confrontation wasn't what I wanted. Revenge was. Across the yard, Lauren threw her head back in laughter, her fingers brushing Ryan's arm with a familiarity that made my stomach tighten. I lifted my whiskey to my lips again, the ice clinking softly against the glass, and allowed myself the smallest of smiles. Tonight was going to change everything. The warm glow of the string lights stretched across the backyard, casting flickering golden hues over the crowd. The air carried the scent of grilled steak, smoky charcoal, and half-finished drinks. Laughter still hummed in the background, though I barely heard it. Conversations wove together, forks clinked against plates, but my focus stayed sharp. I sat at the long wooden dining table, whiskey in hand, absently swirling the liquid while keeping my face unreadable. This moment, the one I had been planning for months, was approaching fast. And right on cue, she stepped into the spotlight. All right, everyone, listen up. Lauren. My wife. My betrayer. My soon-to-be ex-wife. She stood near the grill, one hand curled around the stem of a wine glass, the condensation dripping onto her perfectly manicured fingers. Her golden hair cascaded down her back, catching the light just right, her silk dress hugging every curve. She was stunning. She always had been. She had spent years perfecting herself, for me once, but now for someone else. The crowd quieted, all eyes drawn to her. Lauren had that effect on people. She knew how to command attention, How to make them look, how to make them want her. You know, she began, a teasing smirk tugging at the corners of her lips, I was just telling Sarah the other day, she gestured toward one of her equally tipsy friends. It's so important for men to, you know, keep up. My jaw tensed, but outwardly I was calm. Steady. Calculating. Someone in the crowd laughed nervously. Oh no, Lauren. What are you about to say? Her smirk widened as she tossed her golden hair over one shoulder, eyes sparkling with wicked amusement. I mean, we all know the truth, ladies. She let the words hang, pretending to search for the right phrasing. Some men just aren't built for excitement. A ripple of laughter moved through the group, hesitant, unsure. She had them now. They were intrigued, curious. Lauren took another slow sip of her wine, letting the anticipation build before she turned toward me. And then, with all the audacity in the world, she dropped the final dagger. Some of us, she said, her voice syrupy sweet, need a little more. Silence. Even the crickets in the distance seemed to hush. I felt the shift immediately, the weight of every single gaze turning toward me. Cautious. Amused. Pitying. Some of the men exchanged awkward glances, unsure whether to laugh. Some of the women pressed their lips together, watching intently to see how I'd react. This was her game. Public humiliation. Lauren wanted everyone to see her as the irresistible, untouchable woman, trapped in a marriage with a man who wasn't enough. And she wanted them to know it. She turned to her friend and, in an exaggerated stage whisper loud enough for everyone to hear, said, That's why some of us need options. Crack. The sharp sound split through the night as I set my whiskey glass down on the wooden table with deliberate precision. The impact made the nearby plates rattle. It wasn't loud, not really. But it was enough. Enough to make Lauren flinch, just for a second. Just enough for me to see it. I smiled. Lauren, I said smoothly, my voice even, controlled. You should be careful with your words. She laughed, feigning innocence. Oh, come on, baby, it's just a joke. She turned back to the group, spreading her arms wide. We all joke about this kind of thing, don't we? A few murmured half-hearted agreements, though the tension had shifted. It was palpable now. I leaned back in my chair, tapping one finger against the rim of my glass. You're right, I said, my tone relaxed, agreeable. It is important for men to keep up. To be prepared for anything. For the first time tonight, something flickered in her expression. Confusion. A shadow of unease. I believe in being prepared, I continued, lifting my drink in a casual toast. Which is why I always like to plan ahead. Lauren frowned slightly, that overconfident smirk faltering just the tiniest bit. I let the silence stretch between us, let it settle just long enough for her to feel it. The first drop of dread sinking into her spine. Then, I took another slow sip of whiskey. And smiled. The party carried on the surface at least. Conversations resumed, but there was a shift in the air. The easy laughter, the casual banter, it all felt slightly off now, hesitant. People sensed something had changed, but they couldn't quite put their finger on it. Lauren's moment of triumph had soured. Just a little. But that was just the beginning. Inside the house, muffled laughter echoed through the halls as the party outside roared on. Ice clinked against glasses. Flames licked the grill. The air buzzed with drunken conversations. No one noticed that two people had slipped away. Except me. I sat at the patio table, swirling the whiskey in my glass, my expression unreadable. Inside, though, my pulse was steady. Controlled. This was the moment I had been waiting for. My phone vibrated against the wooden table, a notification flashing across the screen. Live stream active. A slow, knowing smile curled at the corner of my lips. With a casual flick of my thumb, I unlocked my phone and pulled up the feed. The hidden cameras, strategically placed over the last month, were doing their job. The dimly lit guest bedroom. The tangled sheets. The unmistakable forms of two lovers who thought they had the world fooled. They didn't know the world was about to watch them burn. Lauren's laughter floated through the speakers, a soft, breathless sound, drunk on victory. She lay sprawled on the bed, golden hair spilling over the pillows, her skin glowing under the warm light. Ryan leaned over her, shirt unbuttoned, smirking as his hand trailed along her arm. "This is too easy," she whispered, amused. "He's out there playing host, and here I am, doing whatever I want." Ryan chuckled, his grip tightening. "You like the risk, don't you?" Her smirk deepened. "I like knowing he'll never do anything about it." A loud click. Both of them froze. The soft hum of the air conditioning cut out. The bedside lamp flickered. The door lock engaged with a sharp, metallic clank. Lauren sat up abruptly, her eyes darting around the room. What was that? Before Ryan could answer, a voice filled the room. My voice. "Oh, don't stop on my account." Lauren's blood turned to ice. The ceiling speakers crackled as I let my words settle in, letting the panic start to creep into her veins. "You seem to be enjoying yourselves," I continued, my tone calm, deliberate. "Why don't we let everyone else in on the fun?" The bedroom TV flickered to life. And there it was. A live feed. A crystal-clear, high-definition display of them. Back outside, the party had reached a turning point of its own. Guests were mid-laughter, mid-drink, mid-bite, until suddenly the massive projector screen near the pool lit up. At first, people squinted, unsure of what they were seeing. Then, recognition dawned. Gasps. Hands flying to mouths. Drinks slipping from fingers and shattering against the patio floor. Someone whispered in disbelief, "Is that?" A woman clutched her husband's arm. "No. No way." Mouths hung open. The once lively party had turned into a vacuum of stunned silence. And then the screams began. Inside the house, Lauren scrambled off the bed, her breath coming in sharp, panicked gasps. "What the hell?" she shrieked, grabbing for her dress in a frenzy. Ryan, now fully awake to the nightmare unfolding around him, ran to the bedroom door, yanking at the handle. Locked. "Who's watching this?" Lauren gasped, her hands shaking. "Who?" Then it clicked. The party. The guests. The screen. Her breath hitched. "Oh my God!" she whispered. Outside, horrified murmurs rippled through the crowd. The gasps, the shifting feet, the disbelief, it was everything I had been waiting for. Then, through the speakers, my voice again. "Congratulations, love. You're famous." Lauren's stomach dropped. "No," she whispered, backing away from the screen. "No, no, no." She turned to the TV in horror, just in time to see her own face staring back at her, wide-eyed, stricken, frozen in sheer panic. She wasn't just exposed. She was ruined. And the whole world was watching. The air was thick with silence, the kind that grips a room right before it explodes. Out by the pool, every guest stood frozen, eyes locked onto the massive screen playing Lauren and Ryan's betrayal in real time. The projector illuminated their faces, capturing every mortifying second in high definition. No one moved. No one spoke. Then, the voice came again. "Oh, don't stop now. The audience is just getting started." My voice. Calm. Controlled. Precise, like a judge preparing to deliver a verdict. A ripple of unease swept through the crowd. Some gasped, others clamped hands over their mouths, but no one dared to look away. Inside the house, panic took full hold. Lauren spun in circles, wild-eyed, searching for the source of the voice, the cameras, anything. Ryan bolted to the door, yanking the handle with both hands, but it didn't budge. "What is this?" Lauren's voice cracked. "Nate, open the door." I didn't answer. Instead, the speakers hummed to life, and a new recording played. Lauren's voice. Crystal clear. Broadcasted for everyone outside to hear. "Nate is useless. A pathetic excuse for a husband. I swear, I'm just waiting for the right time to get out and take what's mine." A collective inhale rippled through the party. Shock. Horror. Disgust. The weight of her own words pressing down on her harder than any locked door ever could. Lauren's eyes widened in terror. She whipped around, staring up at the camera mounted near the ceiling. With a frantic jump, she reached for it, trying to smash it, trying to destroy the evidence, but it was too high. She couldn't touch it. Another recording played. Ryan's voice. "You're the only real man in my life, Ryan. Nate. He's nothing. He thinks he's so smart, But he has no idea. If he ever finds out, so what? What could he possibly do? Ryan staggered backward, suddenly looking like a man who had just realized he was standing at the edge of a cliff. His face went pale. The murmur in the crowd outside grew louder. The very same people who had laughed with Lauren earlier, who had shared drinks, who had hung on her every word, those same people now stared at her in a mixture of disgust, fascination, and pity. And then, the final blow. When I finally leave that idiot, I'll bleed him dry. I'll take the house, the money, everything. And he'll still be begging for another chance. The silence that followed was deafening. Then, whispers. Gasps. A woman in the back covered her mouth, shaking her head. Someone else muttered, "Unbelievable." A few pulled out their phones, recording the moment, ensuring that Lauren's words would live on far beyond this party. Inside the house, Lauren was trembling. Ryan turned to her, face twisted with fury. "You," his voice was raw, betrayed, venomous. "You told me this was just for fun. That Nate was nothing. That I had nothing to worry about." Lauren shook her head wildly, desperation clawing its way into her voice. "Ryan, no, you don't understand." But Ryan wasn't listening anymore. And outside, the guests, the very people who had once idolized her, had seen enough. I finally spoke again, my voice smooth, even. "Ladies and gentlemen, I hope tonight has been educational." A few nervous chuckles. No one dared to look me in the eye. I let the silence stretch, watching as Lauren pressed herself against the locked door, as Ryan's face twisted with realization, as the guests outside shifted uncomfortably, eager to leave but unable to look away. Then, with a final smirk, I delivered the last words they would hear from me that night. "It seems our guests of honor need some time alone. Don't worry, the doors will unlock soon." Lauren screamed in frustration, pounding her fists against the door, but it didn't matter. No one was coming to save her. The screen flickered. The footage cut. The speakers went silent. And yet, the damage was irreversible. Lauren had spent years crafting her perfect image. A flawless, enviable life. And in a single night, it had all been turned to ash. The morning air was crisp, carrying the scent of freshly cut grass and the faint, lingering aroma of last night's barbecue. The sun had barely begun its ascent, casting long golden streaks across the backyard. Empty glasses, overturned chairs, and scattered napkins were the only remnants of what had once been a lively party. I sat at the outdoor table, a steaming cup of black coffee in one hand, my phone in the other. Taking a slow sip, I let the bitterness settle on my tongue. Fitting. A bitter end to a bitter game. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Notifications flooded in, texts, calls, social media alerts. "Dude, you broke the internet. That stream was insane. I can't believe she did that to you. Good riddance. You handled it like a genius. Respect." I scrolled through the comments on the now viral stream. Overnight, the footage had spread like wildfire, racking up millions of views. Every corner of the internet was ablaze with discussions, reactions, and breakdowns. The fitness influencer who publicly humiliated her husband, only to be humiliated in return. The woman who built her brand on being aspirational, now the center of a digital scandal. The once adored socialite turned into a villain in her own story. I chuckled under my breath, shaking my head. I hadn't needed to say a single cruel word. The world had done it for me. And speaking of the world, my lawyer had just sent me a text. Finalized. She's walking away with nothing. Call me when you're up. Exhaling slowly, I set my phone down. It was over. The legal process had been swift. With concrete proof of her infidelity and, more importantly, her own words sealing the deal, the prenup had held firm. She would leave with exactly what she came in with. Or, rather, without. I leaned back in my chair, listening to the rustling of the trees in the soft morning breeze. And then, as if summoned by fate, the sound of footsteps crunching on the gravel driveway reached my ears. I didn't turn. I didn't have to. I already knew who it was. A moment later, her voice shattered the morning stillness. "You ruined me." I finally looked up. Lauren stood at the edge of the patio, her once flawless appearance in tatters. The confident, glowing woman from last night was gone. In her place was someone else, someone disheveled, panicked, broken. Her golden hair, usually sleek and styled, hung in tangled waves. Last night's makeup was smudged beneath puffy, sleepless eyes. Her hands trembled, fingers gripping her phone so tightly her knuckles had gone white. I took another slow sip of coffee, unaffected. I ruined you. I set my cup down with deliberate calm. Or did you ruin yourself? Her nostrils flared. You set me up. I tilted my head slightly, considering her. No. I let you set yourself up. There's a difference. Lauren's chest rose and fell in shallow, erratic breaths. I could see it, the dawning horror in her expression. Not just because she had been caught. Not just because the world had turned on her. But because there was no coming back from this. I lost everything, she whispered, her voice cracking. She wasn't exaggerating. Her sponsorships, gone. Her social media accounts, flooded with hate. Her name, a joke. She swallowed, struggling to get the next words out. My sponsors dropped me. My accounts are full of threats. My name is, she choked on the sentence, like saying it out loud would make it too real. I finished it for her. A meme. My voice was devoid of sympathy. A cautionary tale. Tears welled up in her eyes, but I didn't move. Didn't offer comfort. She took a staggering step forward. Nate, please. Her voice was different now. Gone was the arrogance, the condescension, the smugness. What stood in front of me wasn't the woman who had laughed in my face, who had basked in the attention of others while tearing me down. Now, she was desperate. Helpless. Afraid. But the thing about a house of cards is that once it collapses, you can't rebuild it from the ruins. I stood slowly, towering over her. You should go. Lauren flinched. Her lips parted, but no words came out. For the first time since I had known her, she had nothing left to say. She swallowed hard, her gaze darting between the house, the driveway, the sky, searching for something. An escape. An answer. But there was none. Finally, after a long, painful silence, she turned on her heel and walked away. I watched as she disappeared down the driveway. I didn't call after her. I didn't watch until she was out of sight. Instead, I simply sat back down, took another sip of coffee, and let the morning sun warm my face. For the first time in years, I felt completely, utterly free. Thank you for visiting my YouTube channel. Your support, likes, and comments truly inspire me to create even more engaging content. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. You're a part of this amazing community, and I'm thrilled to share my stories with you. See you in the next video on YouTube.